Hi, y'all. This is Alyssa Benitez with Sandoval Creative. I have the honor of having Dorian Sandoval, the host of Risk and Resilience, here in the studio. Hi, Dorian.
Hi, Alyssa. Thanks for having me.
I am blessed to be able to be the producer and director of his new podcast, Risk and Resilience.
And you do a great job.
Thanks. I can always do better, but thank you.
Absolutely good.
So we are going to dive into him and what this podcast is about and hear why you guys should listen to it.
Absolutely.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to start with a simple one, hopefully.
Oh,
We're going to start with the name.
okay.
So
Risk and resilience.
Risk and Resilience.
So
why?
Our tagline is the risk to begin and the resilience to keep going.
I love that.
And yeah, I mean, it's the archetype of the experience of somebody who's wanting to start a small business and understands how hard it's going to be, the competition that they're going into, quitting the job, facing doubt and running headfirst. Risk is the risk part of the podcast is to acknowledge that they're there and to go in spite of them. And then resilience is, that's when the rubber meets the road. It's all fun and games when you file the LLC on LegalZoom and you go out and try to get work and then you get kicked in the teeth. What happens then? Well, I'll tell you what happens. It sucks. It sucks. And you have to hold on to your whys and remember the reason why you're there and why you're going to keep going. You got that far, and small business owners, every small business owner has that story. Every small business owner, every realtor who moved out of market, the people with side hustles and corporate jobs and who's a single mom and has to go home and be a mom also. Those are the people that we're wanting to hear from.
Yeah. You start from nothing, right?
Yeah.
They're pebbles in this ocean of people. So, okay.
100%.
Why this podcast? Why did you decide to do it?
So we decided to do this podcast.
Okay, well, let's clarify. Where you had the idea?
I had the idea. I wrote it down on an envelope, and then
which is where all great ideas start.
Yeah, this one was written on a bill though. So
how much was that bill?
It doesn't matter. It disappeared.
Motivation enough.
It disappeared. But so I had the idea, and fortunately, I'm surrounded with a team. You and Vanessa, who we chewed on this idea. We put pen to paper. We had a lot of. We realized that there's not another one like it. We're all podcast listeners, especially me. And I listen from everything from murder mystery to Theo Vaughn. And, when you want motivation, when a guy's telling you to run 600 miles a day, and if you quit, then you're just weak. Or the other guy who tells you to sell your silverware and sleep on your grass and good things are going to happen to you. It just seemed way out of touch, super unrelatable. Or, the guy who's talks about being motivated, but he's flipping, private jets. It just seems super out of touch. So I wanted
there's a space and there's time for everybody.
100%.
But when you're trying to gain motivation as this little person, we gotta.
If you're weak like me, you watch that and you think, "What am I doing? This guy."
Let me stay.
I'm selling, cell phone plans, and this guy's flipping jets. We're not the same.
Yeah.
And it's
Let me
demoralizing.
stay doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm never gonna get there. I'm 30 years old already, or I don't have a degree. Daddy didn't leave me $2 million. There was not a podcast by a regular person. I'm incredibly regular. 2 semesters of college. I did not finish at all. As a matter of fact, I was so good at it. They said, we don't need you anymore. You figured it all out.
I'm sure. Did they write that down on the degree?
They did. I lost it though. But I'm incredibly regular. I mean, I've done everything from digging holes with shovels for underground construction to knocking on doors to sell roofs and working in an AT&T cell phone store. So I'm about as regular as it gets. And who I'm after is regular people. And I want the audience to finally have a relatable podcast that's local to here in San Antonio, that is by San Antonians and people that are in the surrounding areas.
I think that's the coolest part is that we're not going and trying to find someone in California, New York. Yeah, we'll go visit. Yeah. Great. But we're picking someone here that's your neighbor that you can go to their place and speak to. You can call them
100%
and know that they're here. They're just
100%. It's not about the budget. It's not about, how many followers you have on Instagram or Facebook. It's not about the fancy store. It's about, the person and the fact that they are just a person and they're regular and they have hopes and dreams and they have, issues. They have problems in dealing with, addiction, to being a single mother and having several kids, whatever it is. They're regular people that are doing this stuff.
Yeah.
They're getting out there in spite of the risks, and they are pressing forward, and they are so inspirational, but they don't have access to the budgets that the big companies have. And this podcast is a platform for them to highlight their story. I always say, you never realize how good the story you're in, your story, until you tell somebody about it. So for them to be inspired and to inspire me, I need the motivation. I need motivation from regular people. And, on the tail end of it is maybe a symptom is that we can give people, everybody wants to support small business. Nobody knows how to find small business because your Facebook algorithm or your Instagram algorithm is inundated by these big corporations that can afford the $10,000 a month it takes to be front page. This is for the little guy. Yeah. This is for the little guy who is competing against those $100 million companies or the 25-year brick and mortars who, just because he's a small company doesn't mean his work is any different. And getting access to them, giving them a chance to put their story out there and hopefully inspire people.
Trust.
Yeah, 100%. Humanize them.
Yeah. There's just, sometimes we drive by and we're like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I go in there. I don't know if I want to talk to them. But as soon as I hear someone's story, or if I'm eating at a restaurant and I read that little plaque that's how they got started, I'll go back and think, wow, this is incredible. The food tastes a little bit better. Your eyes are open. The ambiance, you're just like, okay.
You're a part of it.
Sense. Yeah.
You're a part of it.
It makes me feel like this is my business too.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you said that because that's how it feels to support a small business and to watch them grow. It's just, in today's age with the amount of advertisements and, our phones, you say Toyota Tundra, and then next thing you know, you're on Google and there's an ad for one. Sure. All of our phones are going to have that here in just a second. But this is for the little guy. We really want them
not sponsored. Sorry.
Yeah, we're not sponsored. Sorry, we'll have to bleep that out. But it's so that somebody who otherwise wouldn't have the option of reaching, thousands of people, or to send to their clients, their family, their friends, the people that support them, and so that they can hear the story. Because, you're around people and they're working hard, but you don't know what their life is like daily. You don't know what they're going through, or how hard it was, or the other side of it is you see the business owner who is successful now, has figured it all out, and you discredit their story just because they are where they're at. We want I want to know what it was like from LegalZoom and forming that LLC to the success. I want the meat of it. I want to know what's in between. And I think that's what we all want to know. It's easy to be successful and then just brag about being successful and how much money you have. There's not very many people, and I'm not that guy. I'm not, believe me, I'm not the one that is going to be inspiring. I think I'm driven by a genuine curiosity and love for those uplifting stories, the underdog stories, and hearing that because I'm an underdog. I've been an underdog my entire life. And this podcast is for me also. It's so that I can get motivation. I'm not trying to give anybody advice. I'm not trying to inspire anybody at all. I want you to come on here and inspire me and inspire anybody that listens to it.
Yeah. I think at some point in our life, there's always been a story that we listen to and read. Whatever you do with that, whatever you do after that story is all on you.
Absolutely.
But we hear something and say, I can do it.
Yeah.
You motivated me to get over that hump,
100%.
or you solidified that maybe this isn't the route for me and I need to try something. Like there's a moment in life where somebody motivated us enough to just push forward.
Absolutely. And you know, I think that person for me has always been my grandfather. My grandfather, he raised a huge family. He had 5 kids, and they had a bunch of kids. I think we're up to like 12 grandkids now. But he is the most resilient person I've ever known. He first one up. He's the last one to get home, and he instilled this passion for stories. I remember sitting around just asking him to tell stories. And
grandpas are best. The best.
Well, I think I have the best one, but their second place is wide open. We can talk about that later. But you know, I've always had a love for the story. Tell me a story. I mean, it's so much better to hear a story. And you know, one thing that you learn as you grow up is, give me a hero and I'll give you a tragedy. And those are the best stories to hear. Yeah. Those are the ones that make you on your drive home want to be better. They make you want to, you know, put down the vice or wake up earlier and go to the gym and do this, that, and the other. And I think that part of this podcast is an outworking of that love for story, for inspiration, because I live off of that.
Well, the truth is that with success, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You can't have risk and then success. Nope. You're going to have risk plus resilience, hopefully equals success.
Hopefully.
But the most success is, you know, a wide variety.
Yeah.
People will look and see, oh, I'm successful at this level, that's all on you. But either way, those people have had they took a risk and then their resilience came in, and now they're where they're at.
Absolutely. And we want to highlight the before. You're there now, but tell me about the risk when you started and the doubts that you had that could have prevented you from doing it, because somebody is going to listen to this podcast and hear, oh my goodness, that's the same thing that's keeping me from chasing my dream, from starting this business. And
they don't believe in me. They don't like, oh, I'm sitting there.
100%.
The person I looked up to the most in the world says, no, you can't do it. How am I going to jump over that to take that first risk?
I think Risk and Resilience is a platform that's going to give people access to those stories. And, you know, like Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love it.
I wish I could watch it every day. And what it is it's a story of resilience in the risks. And I think that this podcast is an opportunity for me to watch Remember the Titans every time I'm in here and hear people's stories and be motivated and inspired by that story over and over and over again. And, you know, hopefully they get inspired and we inspire people along the way. Or you inspire people along the way. I'm just going to be driving this thing.
It's like remember the San Antonians? Remember the Alamo? Oh, no. What a different direction.
Something like that.
I think so your desired audience is really...
It's eclectic. Yeah. So I think the desired audience is that person. The person working in a cubicle who has this really good idea, who's put pen to paper, but is letting the risks overcome the opportunity. Most dreams die there at the risks. You can think of 1,000,003 reasons why you shouldn't start the company, chase your dreams. All you have to do is find one excuse to win, one excuse to bet on yourself. And so the desired audience is that person to get them to take the leap. Now, if that was our only audience, we'd have 6 or 7 listeners, I think. But it really is it gives local people who want to support small businesses that are from San Antonio. It gives them access to, more of them. We're going to highlight a lot of small businesses here. So other listeners could listen in and learn about a small business and give them a chance, give them the opportunity. But, you know, it's also for the small business owners like me. Like, I need this. I need to hear these stories. I am a small business owner. I struggle with these things. I struggle with motivation. I struggle with getting up in the morning, with being overwhelmed, with having, being at the office until 9 and not forgetting about lunch, forgetting about dinner. And
I think you're also going to touch on and get an insight on the discipline of all of these people.
100%.
Because that's key in that resilience and, being so influential in discipline. I know that discipline is where I'm like, do I want to start a business? Nah.
100%. Yeah.
I want to sleep in.
When thinking about this whole thing, I basically boiled down resilience to an equation. So resilience is confidence times delusion. Delusion. It requires some delusion in there. Plus discipline and determination.
Ooh.
With all of those things, it's a combination. And sometimes you have to fill all of that. And I say delusion, but
I was going to say,
it can
touch
be
on
hope.
that.
So you have to be, I think, and the word that I use is delusion, because when you're starting a company and you know that there's 25-year brick and mortars that have billboards all over the city, a commercial on the news and on the radio, go into battle with them and knowing that you're literally competing against them and all the hard work that they've done to get to that point. You got to have a little bit of delusion. It's delusion better than luck.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that when I go out, that I'm going to be successful. I might not be better. I'm not going to put them out of business, but I'm going to carve my little piece of the market out, and I'm going to sit right there. I'm not trying to put anybody out of business. We just want to work for ourselves and leave a legacy for our family.
Yeah.
And even to the point where you have to be a little stubborn. I mean, that's the other part of this is you got to be a little stubborn.
You have to have a little grit. You have to have a little.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that encompass.
Yeah.
This is just a huge umbrella of the first, or just a couple of things that have brought people to where they are today.
100%.
But yeah, that delusion is key. I don't think there's anybody. Crazy. I think the big companies, unless they were given to them by their mom and dad, right? They a
lot of them
have had that delusion where you sit there and you're like, my first thought is there's realtors, right? You're like, there's 1,000,001 realtors.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to jump into this.
It's crazy.
I'm going to go. Really? Me? And I know that there has been brokers who said there's enough business for everybody. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be about who puts in the time, who puts in the effort, who puts in the discipline, who has what is the equation? Confidence?
It is risk equals confidence multiplied by delusion plus discipline and determination.
All right.
And again, it sounds great. It sounds big and sexy. Like I came up with that and I live by it. But, I, like everybody else, motivation to me is like caffeine. You're tired, you drink caffeine and you're good. You're not feeling motivated. You watch a Grant Cardone video and it gets you out of the door. And then you realize that guy's a billionaire or whatever he is. Yeah. And there's no substance there. So what we rely on is discipline. Discipline is not a fair weather friend. Motivation is only there when things are going good. It's easy to be motivated when things are going good.
Oh, for sure.
It's hard when you don't want to be motivated. You don't have a reason to be motivated. But discipline gets you through. Yeah. Discipline is I'm going to work today because I'm going to work. Not because, not for the money, not for anything. I'm doing this now because I'm doing this right now. Oh. And I think it simplifies a lot of things. Because if you're out there and you're working, good things are going to come. Mm-hmm. If you mean well and you're out there with clear eyes and a full heart, good things are going to happen. Discipline is the way to get you there.
Yeah.
And
discipline's what you keep doing when someone doesn't like your product. Someone doesn't like what you're selling. You have a negative review.
100%.
You have the
what are you gonna do? Pack it in? Shut it all down?
I'm done.
Yeah.
But we all do that. There's so many of us. We do that with exercise. We're like, no, we missed a day. I can't do it. I'm so diets. Mm-hmm. No, forget it. I'm gonna eat whatever I want. Who cares? I'll start another time.
100%.
And then it relates to our business. We translate that to business.
Absolutely. Who you are in the shadows is who you are in the light.
Ooh, yep.
And kind of like marriage
unless
does.
You're Batman.
Unless you're Batman. But kind of like marriage does, a small business, it doesn't hide your issues. It puts a magnifying glass on them. So
which
really,
we'll touch on, especially with the people who work with family.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm one of them. But yeah, I mean, that's huge. And it definitely can complicate things, and that's going to require a little bit of resilience. I'll tell you that much.
For sure. Something that reminds me about the movie Horrible Bosses. Have you ever seen it? So one of the owners, he passes away, and the son comes in, and he's just
Colin
like,
Farrell.
oh my gosh, he is just too much, right? But then you have this guy who has seen this owner just create this beautiful thing, the risk, the resilience, the determination, and he's like, I want to carry on that legacy. And this guy's like, no, I'm gonna come through. This is my money. This is my.
Yep.
And I just think like, no, listen, you need to be motivated. Go. How do we make this work for you? And it works out in the end, but
yeah, not to be too analytical or psychological about it, but in the movie, if you want to talk about the movie, Colin Farrell, who played the son, was the most miserable person in the whole movie. Had a terrible life.
Yeah.
And I have know people who are millionaires. They have, $2 million homes, hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in the driveway, and suicidal tendencies.
Yeah.
It's because they got there without earning it, and they have all the things, and it let them down. Deion Sanders, he's got a famous story where he won the Super Bowl, and that night he couldn't sleep because he did the things. He reached the pinnacle of his whole career, and he still wasn't happy. He still wasn't satisfied. I think satisfaction is being part of the resilience and focusing on the grind and the inevitable inspiration from overcoming instead of the money or the trophy or that a thing, the truck. If I just have the Maserati, I'm going to be happy.
Once I get this, and once I get this, and once I get this,
then I'll be good. Then I'll be good. And then you get it, and then you get it, and you want the next one.
Yeah.
The next year's truck comes out or whatever it is. That's exactly why people need to listen to this podcast and hear from regular people, because the people who aren't regular, the socialites and the people with millions of TikTok followers and who just take pictures in bikinis in their room at the Bellagio. This is to get you in touch with the regular human spirit. Yeah. And I'm a genuine believer in that humans quintessentially are good and want to be better and want to continue to grow. But in where we're at now with access to more information than we've ever had access to, and seeing these people all day, every day, and just scrolling on your phone, looking at people with better lives than you, looking at their highlight reel, and you're comparing their highlight reel with your behind the scenes, and it just is a spiral that leads you to despair and not wanting to do anything. And then being bullied at work by a big corporation who stifles creativity, and it's just a perfect storm. And I think, I'm not smart enough to deal with mental illness. I've got plenty of them myself. But it's not surprising that, suicides and things like that are at the highest that they've ever been. And I think a lot of it is exacerbated by having these unrealistic people either lying or conflating their stories into being something way bigger than what they actually are. And it makes the regular person seem so far away from that they're not even going to go. Yeah. They don't even, they're lucky to have their job that they're at now, because I'm not like them. Well, I've been around them. I've been around those people, and they're as normal as possible. The biggest difference is that they haven't been told no in years. They're incredibly unhappy, and they have been let down by themselves. Their target was off. Their target was money. Their target was things. It wasn't, I tell my guys working for me it's a personal development program with disguised as a compensation plan. Doing these jobs and the type of stuff that we do requires a lot of mental strength. It requires personal development. It requires you looking at yourself every day, thinking, how can I be better? How can I make tomorrow better than today? And, I struggle with that too. I struggle with that every single day.
It's about how are we making an impact on this life that we've been given and not wasting it. And
it impacts and motivation and inspiration does not just come from Instagram and people who live in California who drive Lamborghinis. It can be, but
it can be if their heart is pure and in the right place, because then we're getting back to the people and the the heart of, like, we want to highlight what's
Regular
really
people.
You know what the craziest thing is, though, that we're probably going to have someone on here who doesn't have a crazy, entertaining story.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, this is my challenge, and this is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, because we're going to be
too.
able to highlight someone who had a simple, hard, but nothing crazy, like, oh, this so-and-so died and my house burned down and I lost a leg. No, we may have somebody like that, but maybe not that intense. Oh my gosh.
Everybody's welcome.
Yeah, no. But we're also going to have someone like
regular people with regular stories, and they made it happen. And it isn't about how big their company is. It isn't about what they drive or where they live. It is the fact that they knew the risks, and they saddled up anyways.
Yeah.
And they're continuing to do it. And every single day they know it's never going to be over. And they do it again and again and again. And I want to talk to them. I want them to inspire me, us, my team, across my companies, and also the listener who's needs that one little push to start the company, or the listener who wants to support small businesses, or the listener that wants to give a small business a chance. Yeah. That's who this is for. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to hear these stories. I'm excited for us to chew on them after. We've recorded a couple episodes already, and we've talked about them throughout the week. And I think that when we give the people of San Antonio and anybody else that listens the opportunity to hear regular stories from regular people about risks and about resilience, I think it's really going to resonate with a lot of people. At least I hope.
Sure.
And if it's just my mom, hi Mom. Thank you for watching again. I love you. And I'm all right with that.
Mom's always believed in you.
She's the best. Almost to a fault. She believes in me almost to a fault.
You can do anything, baby.
Yeah.
Well, that can be in a whole nother segment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The delusional millennial that I am.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, well, it's an honor to have you on and start sharing all of these amazing stories with the world, and highlighting some of San Antonio's small business owners and people. I'm
super excited. I would be irresponsible not to thank you, Alyssa, for this. This has been a whirlwind figuring this all out. My wife, Vanessa, who helps us out in the background when she can. My team at Sandoval Diversified. This is thank y'all. Y'all inspire me every day, and I can't wait to hear your stories, future guests and listeners. I hope that you take something away and it helps you be better tomorrow than you were today. Yeah. And when we leave, what's the tag? The tag is the risk to begin and the resilience to keep going. That's all we need. There we go. Thank you, guys. All right, we'll see you next time. All righty.